Did you know that one of the most beloved voices in American music almost vanished from the spotlight? Frank Sinatra, the man who defined an era with his smooth croon, came dangerously close to being blacklisted. In Hollywood, a career can be made or broken in the blink of an eye, especially during the turbulent times of the 1950s. Frank Sinatra, known for his iconic voice and glamorous lifestyle, found himself entangled in a controversy that nearly ended his career. But what happened to push him to the edge? In this video, we'll uncover why Frank Sinatra was almost blacklisted and how he managed to rise from the ashes of a scandal that could have destroyed him forever. Stick around, because the twists in Sinatra's story are almost as dramatic as his music itself. The height of his career and political fallout. By the late 1940s, Frank Sinatra was at the pinnacle of his career. With a string of timeless hits, a successful movie career, and millions of loyal fans, he had become an iconic figure in both music and film. His smooth voice and undeniable charm made him a household name, and he seemed untouchable. But little did he know, the political climate of post-World War II America would soon cast a shadow over his rise to fame, threatening to bring everything he had worked for to a grinding halt. The late 1940s were a time of intense political upheaval. The country was still recovering from the devastation of World War II, and the fear of communism was sweeping across the nation. This fear was spearheaded by Senator Joseph McCarthy, who led a campaign to root out suspected communists within the U.S. government, the entertainment industry, and beyond. This period, known as McCarthyism, was characterized by a relentless search for communist sympathizers. Public figures, including actors, musicians, and filmmakers, were subjected to intense scrutiny, with many facing accusations that could ruin their careers and lives. Sinatra, however, wasn't just any public figure. He was known for his strong political views and for never being afraid to speak his mind. While Sinatra was never a communist, his outspoken nature and history of challenging authority made him a target. His political associations, especially his friendships with liberal figures and left-leaning activists, put him in the spotlight of McCarthy's Red Scare campaign. Sinatra's close ties with certain controversial figures raised eyebrows, and it wasn't long before whispers started circulating that he could be sympathizing with communist ideals. But it wasn't just his political views that stirred the pot. Sinatra was also deeply involved in the civil rights movement, a cause that was both admired and feared by many at the time. His refusal to perform for segregated audiences and his vocal support for racial equality were seen as radical acts during a time when America was still deeply divided on issues of race. These actions added fuel to the fire, making Sinatra an easy target for McCarthy's committee. As the McCarthy-era witch hunts gained momentum, Sinatra found himself under the microscope, with his every move scrutinized. His career, once a smooth ride to the top, was now at risk of being derailed by accusations that had nothing to do with his talent or work, but everything to do with the political climate of the time. It was a dangerous game, and one that could cost Sinatra everything he had built. Sinatra, who had always been outspoken and unafraid to speak his mind, found himself in the middle of this volatile atmosphere. His political views, associations, and refusal to bow to authority drew the attention of those in power. But was Sinatra a communist, or was he simply a victim of the political witch hunt that consumed Hollywood during this time? The answer is more complicated than you might think. Sinatra's relationship with leftist politics. One of the key factors that nearly led to Frank Sinatra's blacklisting was his open support for leftist and progressive causes. In an era where political allegiances could make or break a career, Sinatra's leanings toward liberal ideals placed him at odds with the rising tide of conservatism sweeping through America in the late 1940s and 1950s. During this time, the United States was deeply divided over issues like civil rights, labor unions, and foreign policy. The country was in the midst of the Cold War, and fear of communism was running high. It was an era marked by paranoia, with accusations of communist sympathies lobbed at anyone who dared to challenge the status quo. For a public figure like Sinatra, who lived a life that blurred the lines between personal beliefs and professional actions, his progressive politics made him an easy target. His outspoken support for causes like racial equality and his support for labor unions placed him in the crosshairs of the anti-communist movement, even though he was not, by any means, a communist. Sinatra's relationship with left-wing causes was far from hidden. He wasn't shy about his friendships with several left-leaning figures, many of whom would later become infamous for their alleged communist ties. One of the most significant relationships Sinatra had was with Hollywood mogul Harry Cohn, a powerful figure in the industry who was an outspoken leftist. Cohn's political views and his involvement in supporting progressive causes led to increased suspicion, and Sinatra's close friendship with him raised more than a few eyebrows in the increasingly hostile political environment of the time. The whispers about Sinatra's associations only grew louder when his name was linked to individuals who were later investigated for communist affiliations. While there is no solid proof that Sinatra was ever a member of the Communist Party, his willingness to support or align with individuals who were seen as politically radical raised doubts in the minds of those who were eager to root out communist influence. Sinatra's involvement with the civil rights movement, where he refused to perform for segregated audiences and publicly supported racial equality, also added fuel to the fire. His stance on racial justice was considered radical at the time, and his public support for equality made him a lightning rod for criticism from more conservative elements of American society. Sinatra was seen by many as a symbol of defiance, someone who didn't shy away from challenging authority or speaking out against injustice. But in the climate of McCarthyism, this defiance was dangerous. To be associated with left-wing or progressive causes, no matter how noble, was to risk being branded as a communist sympathizer. Sinatra's refusal to distance himself from his political beliefs and his friends put him squarely in the sights of those who were determined to rid the country of anyone who was even remotely aligned with communist ideals. But what really happened when Sinatra's political beliefs collided with the Red Scare? How did the tension between his convictions and the fierce political climate almost cost him everything? Stick around, because the next chapter of Sinatra's story is filled with even more drama and unexpected twists. The Rat Pack and their association with controversy. Frank Sinatra's reputation was further complicated by his affiliation with one of Hollywood's most infamous groups, the Rat Pack. Made up of Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Peter Lawford, the Rat Pack was known for their undeniable charisma and larger-than-life presence, but also their rebellious and sometimes controversial attitude toward authority. Their public image was that of carefree entertainers, partying and performing with effortless charm. However, behind the scenes, their raucous behavior and penchant for breaking social norms often attracted unwanted attention, especially in an era when conformity was strongly valued. The Rat Pack's antics were not limited to their wild nights out on the town. Their political connections and friendships also stirred up suspicion. Most notably, Sinatra's close ties to John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert Kennedy were seen as problematic by many. At a time when McCarthyism was at its peak and America was gripped by an intense fear of communism, Sinatra's willingness to associate with the Kennedy brothers, a family known for their liberal stances and political ambitions, further fueled the belief that he was sympathetic to radical causes. Their friendship became a point of contention, especially when Kennedy's administration was scrutinized for possible ties to leftist movements and foreign influences. But it wasn't just the political associations that caused Sinatra trouble. His connections to organized crime figures added another layer of controversy to his already precarious position in the public eye. Though Sinatra's relationships with mobsters were often exaggerated by the media, there was no denying that he moved in circles that included known criminals. His ties to notorious figures like the Rat Pack's infamous connections with mobster figures such as the infamous Chicago outfit brought a darker side to Sinatra's image. While Sinatra himself denied any serious involvement with the criminal underworld, the rumors about his relationships with gangsters persisted, particularly during a time when the entertainment industry was under intense scrutiny by both the government and the public. These associations, whether with political figures or mobsters, were enough to make Sinatra a target of suspicion, particularly in an atmosphere where even the slightest hint of disloyalty or subversion could be fatal to one's career. Sinatra's proximity to powerful but controversial figures only added fuel to the fire. His ability to navigate these relationships without completely succumbing to their influence is a testament to his resilience. But could these connections to the Rat Pack and its controversial ties have ultimately led to Sinatra's blacklisting? The truth is that Sinatra's association with these influential yet polarizing figures made him a prime target in the world of McCarthyism. Would his career have survived without these relationships? Or did they help him weather the storm? The drama surrounding Sinatra's connection to the Rat Pack and their various associations with the political and criminal worlds would continue to haunt him as the Red Scare reached its peak. But what came next in Sinatra's journey was nothing short of remarkable. Stay tuned for the next chapter in this roller coaster of a career, the Allegations and Accusations. It wasn't until the 1950s, however, that Sinatra's association with some of these figures started to affect his career directly. During this time, rumors began to circulate about Sinatra's ties to the mafia. While Sinatra had long been rumored to have friendships with mobsters like Lucky Luciano and Frank Costello, these rumors gained more attention during the McCarthy era, when any form of perceived wrongdoing could result in public vilification. The U.S. government in particular was eager to link entertainers like Sinatra to organized crime to further justify the ongoing investigations into the mafia's influence over the entertainment industry. Investigations into Sinatra's ties to figures like the infamous gangster, Johnny Roselli, and other mob-connected figures became a point of focus for the press and law enforcement. Sinatra denied any involvement with organized crime, but the damage was done. Public perception began to turn against him, and the press often made his associations with the mob a focal point of their coverage. These allegations, combined with his political beliefs and his outspokenness on various social issues, made Sinatra an easy target for those in power who were keen to maintain control over the cultural narrative. The fall from grace, Sinatra's career in decline. As a result of these scandals and political tensions, Sinatra's career suffered a serious blow in the early 1950s. His relationship with the public grew strained, and he faced increasing difficulty finding work. In 1951, he was dropped by his label, Columbia Records, and his film career also began to falter. Sinatra's troubles were compounded by his personal life. His tumultuous marriage to actress Ava Gardner, as well as rumors of infidelity and partying, further damaged his reputation. He became a subject of tabloid fodder, with constant coverage of his personal life overshadowing his professional achievements. But perhaps the most significant blow came when Sinatra was blacklisted by the very industry that had once embraced him. The Hollywood blacklist, which began in the late 1940s, was a period during which certain individuals were barred from working in the entertainment industry due to their alleged communist sympathies or leftist associations. While Sinatra was never officially blacklisted by the Hollywood establishment, numerous reports and rumors were suggesting that his political views, his ties to controversial figures, and his status as a vocal public figure put him at risk of being blacklisted. It was during this period that Sinatra found himself increasingly marginalized and on the verge of being written off by the industry. Sinatra's comeback. Despite all the obstacles he faced, Sinatra was not easily silenced. He managed to stage a remarkable comeback, proving that his resilience and talent would not be overshadowed by political or personal drama. In 1953, Sinatra landed a role in the movie From Here to Eternity, which turned out to be a career-defining role. His performance earned him an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, and this newfound recognition helped reinstate his standing in Hollywood. At the same time, Sinatra's career as a musician began to rebound. He signed a new contract with Capitol Records and released a series of successful albums, including Songs for Young Lovers and Swing Easy, which revitalized his status as a top-tier entertainer. Sinatra's comeback wasn't without its challenges, but his determination and talent helped him push through the controversies and rumors that had once seemed insurmountable. By the end of the 1950s, Sinatra was back on top, and his career would continue to flourish throughout the 1960s and beyond. Why he wasn't fully blacklisted. So why didn't Sinatra get fully blacklisted? There are several reasons. Firstly, Sinatra had undeniable talent, and his public persona, while controversial, was also magnetic. The public's love for his music and his ability to command attention through his voice were too powerful to be easily dismissed. Secondly, Sinatra's close connections with powerful political figures, including his ties to the Kennedy family, played a role in protecting his career. While some might argue that Sinatra's political leanings were considered too left-wing for the times, his relationships with politicians and his ability to maneuver in the world of power helped him weather the storm of McCarthyism and its aftermath. Lastly, Sinatra's own resilience and willingness to fight back against the forces that tried to diminish him made it hard to completely silence him. Whether it was through his music, his acting, or his public persona, Sinatra refused to be defined solely by the controversies surrounding him. Frank Sinatra's journey from superstardom to near blacklisting is a story of resilience, controversy, and the price of standing up for your beliefs. But what really brought him back from the brink? How did the man once on the edge of oblivion manage to reclaim his place at the top? The answer might surprise you. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Sinatra's turbulent career, don't miss out on more stories from Hollywood's golden age. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more jaw-dropping tales from the world of legends, scandals, and untold stories. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next.